All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to see all of you joining us at this hour. Good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are. My name is Dr. Yi Sherry Jiang. I'm your host today and also the founder of GenoPilot, which we all share a lot of passion for. And this is, as you know, this scientific wellness program. Through our webinars, we have live sessions, and also we're going to archive all the recordings to really create a unique resource for you continue to drive successes in your wellness journey using science, using food, and using fitness. And we're going to talk about longevity and in this program and on. Really become a useful tool and ongoing for you. This is exclusively created, crafted for the members. So really glad we're doing this. And as you probably know, some of you, if you have participated in the series 1, started from last year, and welcome back. I really miss our time together. And you will like the series 2, I hope. For the new members, or this is the first time you join us, welcome, and I hope you enjoy the program and give us feedback as always. So let's dive in, shall we? All right, so let me change the view because I know there's a different way to enlarge the screen so you can see the content a little bit better. And just bear with me for a second. This is a busy slide, so I'll just try this way. Let me know in the chat if you have issues seeing anything, okay? So a little bit about me. I think a lot of you are familiar with me and know me well. So I'm a scientist turned entrepreneur. I spent about over a decade studying obesity, metabolic syndrome at the Medical College of Wisconsin, using genetics and genomics, epigenomics, proteomics, genome sequencing, you name it, to really identify new markers, biomarkers such as SNPs, which we use a lot today, driving your reports at GenoPilot, and finding that the underlying genetic factors for those really devastating chronic diseases. And then I switched the gear. It's a continuation from my end. It continues to find a way to apply the knowledge, which is still building and growing day by day, to channel that knowledge and information through a platform, which is today's GenoPilot, which is a leading nutrigenomics health tech platforms in the field. I'm gladly report that we have just launched earlier this year a very special food as medicine partnership through the partnership with Earthfare. It's a small chain, but they have footprint in 8 states, and we're quickly growing as well in the sector. Earthfare now are offering GenoPilot tailored health meals for potentially you. If you live in the nearby areas such as North Carolina, Charleston, and Charlotte, and so on, you probably know this brand, and I recommend you check it out there. So it's really our first, also the industry's first food as medicine using precision nutrition as a core driver as a technology. So as the founder, I can tell you how excited I am to see we're moving the needle in helping people be proactive in their health. And we're creating we have created a very safe, scientific, intelligence domain here, environment here to inspire each other to succeed, because journey of health is long and winding, right? It's so complicated, as you know, and every day is different. So we want to be able to always be here, always learn from the science and from each other, and help each other to succeed. With that said, I ask you to always participate with your your engagement, if you may, and let us know, and talk to us through our chat or through our Q&A sessions and after. And that's the only way we can grow as a platform. So why we're talking about aging and health span, obviously want to move it forward, move it up. So when we look at the average health span, estimated health span versus lifespan in the US today, compared to 100 years ago, lifespan has almost doubled. But what's lagging is really the health span. What is a health span for people not familiar with the concept? You can think about that's the disease-free time of your life. Right here, what we show is the lifespan, the average of the US population is almost 80 years. But there's the last 20% of the 80 years is full of disease, right? So that's poor quality of life. And on the healthcare cost for the society-wise is really not good. We are spending 32% of all the Medicare dollars to treat chronic issues during the last 2 years of our lives, anyone's lives, right? So with very, very minimal improvement in the quality of those lives. So that's not working, and it's breaking our bank, literally. So what the field is really looking forward to and to trying everything we can is to move the 63 number to be as close as to the end of the 79, such that we live in an arbitrary way, saying that as I can speak for myself, I want to live and die, right? So that's the ideal. So in other ways, saying that we will continue, hopefully lengthen the lifespan, but we will shorten the gap between the health span and the lifespan. And with that said, so that's one reason, but that's not the only reason. We're going to focus the rest of the year, 2024, will be all about this under this thematic topic of how do we gracefully age altogether? How do we, in doing that, how do we increase your health span, not just your lifespan? And the second reason, which is very near to my heart, is that's based on the feedback from all of you, me included. My personal choice will be consistent with yours, but we look for the feedback from the members first. And we provided 5 choices in the surveys. Many of you have filled it out, and thank you very much for your input. We did actually 2 samples just to make sure, and then they actually came back with the same rankings, different sample sizes, but same ranking. So the number 1 is that people are most interested in healthy aging and chronic disease prevention. That's exactly this topic. And the other brain function and behavior changes. We actually be able to channel all these elements into our long course of series 2. So I think we're going to cover all the grounds, but focusing on health span. So thank you for your input, and it's a great minds, consistent with all the industry leaders too. So I'm really glad we're doing this. Now, this is a very complicated topic, right? Very complex. And if I have the magic wand, I will swing it now and everybody's going to live forever happily. But we're not there yet. So with that said, we can tackle this in many different ways, many different directions. What I, after my research within our team, beyond our team with our advisors, some luminaries in the field. I know quite a few in the longevity field. We came back with a list of topics, and we're gonna build them into a program. We'll continue doing this. As you know, our cadence is monthly. So now we're actually offering 2 times for you to choose. That way we can have more live sessions opportunity. If you like it, we'll continue doing this, or we can consolidate into one time. But every 4 weeks or so, you can expect a completely fresh topic, but all under this healthspan theme. The first entry point, I am very excited about today's topic. And I think it's a lower hanging fruit, one of the lower hanging fruits that we can tackle. And you're going to benefit from it because I have. So we're talking about way of breathing. It's naturally, I think there's a rule of threes when you're talking about going to the wilderness and survive. And the guide usually tell you, remember there's threes. If you don't eat food, you can live for, our body can, on average, can sustain for 3 weeks. If you don't drink water or any liquid, you're going to die within 3 days. And guess what? If you don't have oxygen, don't breathe, we can only last for 3 minutes. And we know that, right? But it's kind of interesting to just keep that in mind. Because of that, it's so essential. Our system, our physiology developed over all these evolutionary years a way so that we could breathe effortlessly, should be, and the different connections to the lung, between the lung, the heart, and the brain. And we're going to talk about quite a few insights from the neuroscience today, which is very interesting and important to know. So we eat a few times a day, as we all share that, and we actually breathe 20,000 times a day to get our oxygen to fuel our body. And I was astonished by this number. And I also thought that's a great opportunity. If we can breathe every breath better, wouldn't that be a great intervention for elongate our lifespan, right? So that's one of the reason. And we have a lot of insights, and we're going to try to channel the highlights and especially practical parts today. It's a highly modifiable physiological phenomenon. I think everybody, if you're under stress, people tell you, just relax, breathe. All of a sudden, your breathing pattern going to be affected for better to deeper, right? For deeper. So you know that effects can be instant. And there are different ways of breathing too, and we'll get into that. The benefits can be long-lasting. If we learn this and then become a different new norm, and I think everybody going to live longer. That's my hope. So let's share a moment. Let's take a breath. I found this beautiful place in Norway. So you can use that when you just do normal breathe with me for a few rounds. And I will give you cues. If you want to listen to me, great. You can also keep your eyes closed. That way I feel that's easier for me to focus on my breathing. So let's do a 3-4 your normal breathing together, just to relearn how do we do that. Just take a mental note. We are not seeking for answers. We are just observing how we're doing that now. Now, can you make a note noticing, are you normally breathing shallow or deeper? Are you using your nose exclusively for inhale, exhale, or also turn to use your mouth in that process? And then if I say, relax, it's okay. The world can be as simple as your breathing. Okay, if when I say that, did that change your breathing a little bit? All right, wake up. Thank you so much. I enjoy doing that with you. And the second one, let's do a sigh, a big dramatic sigh. Life is short. Sigh is such an emotional, it has an emotional tone, but it's also physiologically wired. And we're going to talk about how we sigh and why we sigh in a little bit. Now let's do 2 deep breathing with me. Now I want you to, hopefully you can see me clearly. I'll get closer to the camera. So look at my body, upper body is enough. My body movement when I do deep breathing, I usually do 5 in, count of 5, inhale, hold it a little bit, exhale on 8. That's how I do it. You can do the way you want. Okay, together. First, deep breathing. Noticing my upper body is going up, right? And I use my mouth to exhale because I'm talking. Usually I don't. All right, second one. And out. Did you notice my upper body not changing this time? All right, so take that note. Thank you so much for sharing that breathtaking moment with me. All right, moving on. So we just practice or focus on that practice because we are practicing that. Otherwise, we will die in 3 minutes. So how does it work? This is a refresher of the anatomy together. So now we're doing the X-ray eyes. So there's this diaphragm. That's one of the biggest muscles right below underneath your rib cage. So when you inhale, as shown on the picture on the left, the air comes in, fill the lungs. The diaphragm gonna push down by 1/2 inch, which will pull all the muscles between the ribs, called the intercostal muscles. They'll all contract, and by results, as the middle picture showed, it's actually elevate your rib cage. It's go up and out. That way you inhale all the airs you can within your one breathing. And then when you exhale, when you add rest, this is not when you exercise, when you add rest, like sitting down, the relaxation is automatic. We don't use muscle energy to drive that. But this is different when you exercise. Different muscles will come in, force the extra air out because your respiration rate is so high. Now on the right side, if you can see that blue bubble, it shows the sacs or the air chambers inside of your lung. So each of us will have these called the alveoli. We'll have about 500 million of them, half a billion. And the surfaces, if we expanded it or calculated, it's almost like an apartment in a big city, like 750 square feet or something like that, smaller than your racquetball court. But so it's a large surfaces to get as much air and then oxygen as you can through every breath. And obviously you're doing that 20,000 times a day. Now, healthy pattern is very similar. When you add rest, the little figures showing here are 6 different patterns. The one on the upper left is a healthy volunteers breathing patterns. So what it is we're measuring the volume of the lung when the air is in. So when it's air filled, the diaphragm gonna go up, and then when you exhale, and it will go down, right? Almost like a heartbeat pattern. So this healthy individual was at rest and then was asking for this called a tidal expiration for just about 1.5 minutes. And then he was asked, or she was asked, I don't know the gender, to exhale and then inhale. So you can see almost there's the curve of a belly, and then go up steeply, right? That's a healthy lung. The healthy lung will be able to exhale, inhale, and the lung volume will go almost double as you're resting. Now let's look at a different pattern. The person, the patient is a patient of experiencing COPD. Some of you may know what that is. It's spelled out. It will be a chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So people have difficulty, inflamed lung inside of the structure, and then it's obstructive, right? So because of that, there's different, it has a difficulty of breathing normally. The second one you can see is a hyperventilating. So it's meaning in the same amount of time given, this person will go up and down, inhale, exhale, triple times compared to the healthy individual. And then noticing when this person be able to exhale, but when you inhale again, it doesn't give the double size in the air that person can get into his or her lung, right? That could be an issue. And then third one, we'll go through this quickly, is erratic. So you can see it's all over the places. And then the lower one has the reverse of the second patient. It actually do that volume too large and space out too much. And the same issue when they come back and they cannot inhale more air than resting. And then the lower middle is a patient having different pattern, difficulty of breathing before, after exercise. The gray one, which is a elongated curve, that was at rest. And then when this person is asked for exercise, you can see the pattern is very different from a normal individuals. So healthy patterns are very similar, and unhealthy can be in different patterns. So, but bottom line is, I think everybody, especially COPD patients, actually can breathe, can learn different ways of breathing, which actually we're going to teach you later today, and then get benefit from it. And so is healthy individuals, for the matter of health span increasing. I like this saying a lot. I want to share with you. Hopefully it will stick with you. Each of your breath is a symphony of lung, muscle, and brain. I played a lot of symphony before this, while waiting for the beginning of the starting point of the program. It's a multi-factors and a lot of players. It's complicated, but it's nice when it's played right. And then I highlighted brain here because not until recently, we actually gained a lot of more insights about breathing and brain. It's actually a very, very close relationship. Now, if you ever got fascinated about gladiators' time or the medicine around time, there's a physician, famous physician called Galen. He actually was the first physician observed, or scientists on that matter, observed the fact that when gladiators are, their necks are broken at the high level, high enough during the fight, and they wouldn't be able to breathe normally. They're still alive, but they're not breathing normally. That's the first observation in science, that brain actually controlling at least to a certain degree of the breathing. But now we know, different than the heartbeat. The heartbeat, as you probably know, is set by the rhythm, is set by and controlled by pacemakers, which is on the heart. But breathing, because it's so essential for our lives, is actually controlled by the brain. And where it is in the brain stem. That's why the observation was so accurate. But not until recently, because we never had a tool to really get into the deep side of the brain, because it needs to be almost hidden there, so that to protect us for this essential mechanisms. We found recently, this is probably from 80s work, but there's a new discoveries recently to confirm. We have this neuron group called a pre-BOTC. It's named by the discoverer, that is actually controlling the pace of your automatic breathing, and also when do you sigh. I don't notice that I sigh every minute, but according to every every few minutes. But all mammals actually sigh, not just you, us, the dogs sigh, as you probably know, cats can sigh, horses can sigh, and rats can sigh. But that's actually wired into our pre-body. It's why we sigh. It's yes, we use it for emotional expression, but at the same time, it's actually a way to recollapse, fill our lung. Those 500 million sacs will be opened up again if sometimes they collapse. This is a way to boost our performance through our lung. And then so I thought about that's interesting. And on the flip side, breathing actually influence our brain regions. We always know in the yoga, when we say relax, do the stretching, focus on breathing. We just did a little bit of that. Our brain feel better, right? Our emotional, is better controlled. So we kind of have that observation experience ourselves, but now we actually confirmed where the cognition and the emotion, which is in the our frontal cortex, prefrontal cortex, which is in the front of my head, and then in the middle of it, at the bottom of it, is the hippocampus, right? So the memory and so on is generated there, and then it was sent to the front to store, and we'll get back to this in a little bit. But breathing actually is very important to affect that. And another thing, sorry, if you notice this olfaction curve underneath the cognition, emotion, brain region, and that's when you breathe through your nose, that's where the air gonna go through that region, is olfactory, and that has a significance in your brain function as well. So there's something called theta rhythm, which is important to just raise your awareness if you haven't. It's an oscillation rhythm that's set by your neurons in the hippocampus we just talked about. It's a very fast oscillation cycle. It's about 6 to 10 times a second. Think about that. It's almost like setting the metronome for your breathing rhythms. And the synchronization between the brain and breathing rhythms actually are recently shown to have deep meaning for how our vocalization is formed. So the language and how many syllabi in each between the two breaths is almost there's a limit, right? There's certain languages like Mandarin or English, for the matter, can be slower. But Japanese, for example, can be very fast. But it's actually to do with the synchronization between the brain and breathing. So I thought that's very interesting. And the other one, I thought it would be very useful for you. We know, I just talked about the olfaction tract. There's evidence showing breathing through your mouth can disconnect the synchronization, which on the flip side, if you use your nose when you're doing cognitive tasks, play a video game or a board game and whatnot, doing anything to do with your cognitive capacity, breathing through your nose gonna give you a boost in your performance. So next time, play when you breathe through your nose when you want to win in a game. Memory is such a fascinating new developed, highly fast developed area in neuroscience. It affects us, affects our understanding of all the dementia issues. So very critical things. We, as we talk about, when we sleep, the memory, short memory or temporary memory, developed, created in the hippocampus. If you remember that anatomy in the middle of lower part of the brain, will send only during your deep sleep to your cortex, right? So that's why students need to take breaks and take sleep or naps even to help them to remember what's the last history classes and facts and the teachers told them. That's why. So sleep is super important. That applies to all of us adults as well. And then what the recent new evidence is showing is that sleep and how you breathe is through your nose is better, is actually has a role in facilitating that long-term memory storage in the deep side of your brain. So breathe, and then breathe right. Now, I hope I at least pique your interest about how you breathe, how we can breathe differently. Some of the techniques I'm gonna invite my guest speaker in a minute, will teach you, can hopefully expand your portfolio of how to breathe and for your longevity. So I can't think of a better guest to be invited to this series to help us gain more practical knowledge and ways from breathing to mobility to pain management, and to help us be stronger. So it's my pleasure to welcome Pete Mueller, a highly experienced and respected physical strength training coach, to the stage, or virtual stage. Pete, are you with us now?
I am.
Oh, hi. Hi.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
You're broadcasting from your studio?
I am live, the international headquarters here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's right by Pfizer Forum on the Bucks.
Go Bucks.
So thank you so much, Pete. Always a pleasure to see you, and especially to have you contributing to this webinar. Thank you very much for doing that. And I know it's in your heart that to help people. So that's why I asked. And I also know through your holistic approach to train leaders of our communities, me included, you are helping coping stress and coping, just way of life and all the challenges coming at us so well for so long. So we're going to have a lot of fun learning from you. Please go ahead, maybe say a few words about yourself, your whys. And
so I've been in this, my wife and I started this business about 34 going on 35 years ago. I love the industry, and to what you said, I love helping people, and I have a deep belief that as human beings, we are imbibed with so much power to innately heal ourselves and to have not just long life, but as you indicated in the slide earlier, we can have health span that goes beyond 80 years, that is engaged in all the wisdom that is brought to play, can continually be passed on to generations, and the enjoyment factor of playing with grandkids and great grandkids and still participating in life is there for us to take. And today, I love the topic. Breath and breathing is such a foundational, simple thing. And I love how you brought in so much of the science and the physiology and the complexity of how these bodies are created. Now we're going to kind of break it down into, okay, let's simply talk about some techniques for us to improve how we breathe.
Yeah. Our members want to know, okay, great knowledge. What do I do now? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask you some questions about, the competence of breathing, right? Because it's so automatic. We have a deep review already. So people are appreciating why and how, and but same time, there's so many different patterns. It's different ways this can go wrong, and it can go better, right? So can you just speak to, I know you treated so many people, you observe so many people, you must have this almost like statistical analysis about different segments or personas for breathing and others. Can you just speak to how people kind of segregate into different breathing.
Yeah. I think there are some technical ways to practice breathing and to become better at it. But let's keep it really simple. What I've found is that there's this continuum. Think of breathing patterns having two continuums. You've got, on one end, you have a sympathetic or apical or chest breathing sort of a breath, which is associated with an emotional connection, the psychology associated with shallow breathing or breathing primarily in your chest is fight, flight, and freeze. Many of us, unknowingly, because it's become so normal, are stuck in that sympathetic drive. Now, that sympathetic drive, the shallow breathing, is there for a reason. It gets you fixated and focused. Blinders come on. You're observing either a threat or an opportunity. You're on. And we can get stuck there. This digital age has many different things can put us into that state. It can be little t, big T trauma, physical trauma, emotional trauma, COVID, race riots, politics, you name it. If we allow ourselves to get caught up in that cycle, we can get stuck. And when you're in that cycle, as all of your slides indicated earlier in your wonderful way of presenting the physiology, we're not delivering oxygen to our system at as high a level as possible. So we're reducing not only physical performance, but cognitive performance. So the other end of the spectrum is parasympathetic or belly breathing, diaphragmatic breathing. You showed us that diaphragm structure, which is a tent-like structure under our ribs that needs to constantly be moving a little bit with each inhalation or exhalation. So as you breathe into your diaphragm, it distends your belly, and we'll kind of show you what that looks like. But oftentimes the diaphragm, just like a tight, how many people on this webinar would say they have tight hips or tight hamstrings or tight calves or tight something? They have muscles that aren't moving like they should. Your diaphragm is a muscle, and it can be trained and stretched and engaged. So we'll talk about that. So kind of on the continuum, we have some people, and I'll just use simple language and kind of blunt language. Some people are just happy they're breathing. So they are unconsciously incompetent at breathing. They have no clue. Just there's air coming in and out. I'm alive. Therefore, I'm good. Now, there's some people that have a sense that I just can't take a satisfying breath. I struggle to get a deep breath. People say, take a belly breath, and I have no idea. So they're conscious of incompetent breathing. And what we're going to do today, believe it or not, is we're going to do a little, you are going to do some manual work on yourself, and you're going to wake up your diaphragm. Or if it's already awake, you're going to enhance it a little bit. And you're going to become more consciously competent in how you breathe. You're going to feel the difference. And then we're going to practice that. I'm going to give you some homework, and you can become unconsciously competent, and you can spend the majority of your time, the majority of your day living in a more parasympathetic rest, digest, restore, peaceful, powerful state of being, which you benefit from, number one. Number two, your friends and family benefit from. And number three, your community benefits. So if, I can't see you, so there's no show of hands, but how many people believe, if we pause for a second, that if the world collectively could take more parasympathetic breaths, would we be starting at a space where there is more peace, there is more power, there is more curiosity? So that's kind of the woo-woo behind this great breathing. It downregulates your vagus nerve, your blood pressure chills out, manages cortisol levels, your adrenals relax. and it improves oxygenation of all of your tissues. Nitric oxide levels go up, executive function goes up. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think you shared some benefits. I think I'm listing here for everybody. Yeah, it's the list goes on, and I think we know it. And to your question, I think you count me for sure, and I really know that it's going to benefit everybody. And
yeah.
One of our thank you for the incoming. And Tracy, yes, we will be able to record this, and I will send a replay for the exercise. So yeah, I can't wait. And can you show us, Pete?
Yeah. So let's go through some simple techniques. So there's a process that we do at our shop called activation, which we're just going to show you one stage of that, which is let's activate your diaphragm. And whenever we do something, it's a good idea to find a baseline and then intervene and then retest. So this is going to be completely subjective. What I'm going to ask you to do is just tune into how you feel, what do you notice, and just tune in. Can we bring our mind and dial it into how our body is feeling and functioning? So we're going to get a baseline. In a moment here, I'm going to ask everybody to stand up, and then I'll demonstrate, give you kind of a visual of what apical, sympathetic, or shallow breathing patterns look like, and then an example of what a belly breath and a definition of what a diaphragmatic, parasympathetic belly breath looks like. So we're going to stand and pay attention to how do you feel getting up out of a chair, unless you're already standing, forget that part. How does your body feel? What do you notice? There's no right or wrong answer. Then we're going to have you bend over and touch your toes, or touch your knees, or touch your mid-thigh or your shin. Just bend over and make a mental note of how far can I reach and what does it feel like. So I'm going to stand up, and we're just going to kind of give you my belly and my chest here is all we're going to have. So apical, sympathetic breathing pattern, oftentimes, not always, is taken in through your mouth. It can be taken in through your nose as well, but you'll see that most of that breath, if my diaphragm, that tent-like structure, if it's not working, and you take a deep breath, it looks like this. And everything rises up. It's like you're breathing with your neck and putting stress and strain, frankly, in your neck, and it's up here. Now, how we're designed to breathe, but what we've maybe forgotten how to do is to breathe into your belly. And I'm just going to turn this down a notch. So everybody find your belly button with your index finger. And you're going to pinpoint a spot with that finger approximately 1 inch below your belly button. So that is your target. That's what I want you to try to breathe into, and try a few breaths like that. You're just going to breathe in through your nose, direct it toward 1 inch below your belly button, and out through your mouth or out through your nose, whichever. So let's just take two breaths. And if you're looking at the screen, you can see that when I'm breathing into my belly and my diaphragm is working, my belly is going to distend a little bit. So I'm 2.5 months pregnant or something. So it's not a pushing out, but it's just my diaphragm coming down and pushing things out. Now, what I want you to do is you're just going to bend forward and reach as far as you can and make a mental note. And why don't we do that just one more time and tune into how does that feel? And up. All right. So now we're going to do a little work with your thumbs or with your fingers. What I want you to do is find your sternum. So there's the base of your sternum where your ribs meet. And then below that is a little bone that called your xiphoid process that we want to avoid. And we're just going to be just above that. Now you're going to measure down about 4 inches on your rib cage. And we're going to activate your diaphragm. You're going to do this. So I don't want you on top of the ribs, and I don't want you under the ribs. I want you at kind of a 45-degree angle right on that rib edge. And you are going to rub on that rib edge. You can go kind of up and down on that angle. You can make circles, clockwise, counterclockwise, and you're going to move little by little towards your sternum. And if you find a spot that you find a little curious, and I think by curious, I mean irritating, maybe spend a little more time on that area. Just kind of rub. Mm-hmm. And trust that you don't need to be perfect at this. You can't do it wrong. You can only do it better with practice. So we're just rubbing. Find a spot that might be a little irritating. If there is a spot, there might not be any. And you're going to work right up to where that sternum meets. So that's maybe been 45 seconds or so, maybe a little less. And now I'm just going to tilt my camera up. You are going to now be on your sternum. So again, thumb, fingers, you're just rubbing straight up the center of your sternum towards your collarbone. And again, make a mental note. If there's a spot that feels a little bit more irritating than others, maybe spend a little time there. Make bigger circles, because you're basically just breaking up fascia, that thin membrane that flows throughout your body, and you're activating and waking things up. So I'm just working up to where my clavicle meets my sternum. You can rub on where that joint is, your sternal clavicular joint. And you can just rub, work your way down. All right. And that is it. So now what we're going to do, and it doesn't have to be at exactly this pace, but let's focus on doing a 5-count inhale through your nose, directing that breath to an inch below your belly button. Pause for a moment, and then do an 8-second exhale. And let's do 3 breaths. Take your time, and we'll check back in with you. So we're going in through your nose, and then exhale. And release all of that air, or much of it. And then inhale. And exhale. And last one. And then take a moment and pay attention to your environment. Do you notice anything different? Some will, some won't. But potentially by engaging your diaphragm, what you've just done is you've down-regulated your system. There can be a little more peacefulness, a little more sensation of safety. And frankly, when you are safe, your body moves. It feels free to move. So now let's reach for the floor again and make a mental note. How do you feel? Were you able to reach further? Or do you notice anything? You know, it's your story. There's no right or wrong answer, but it's important, I think, that we tune in our minds into how our bodies feel and not just have our body carry our brains along, but actually engage the components. So did anybody notice a change?
I do feel I can stretch further. My morning was stiffer than normal. I don't know why. Probably didn't sleep around the right side. But hey, everybody on this, feel free to share did you notice any difference? Like Pete's instructed or directed, or not yet? Okay, great. We see people saying, Pete, you can see the incoming. Yeah. Greg was happened to know Greg well. He and his wife are both on the call and feel more stretchy, which is great. And we didn't do stretching, right? We just did breathing exercise and diaphragm activation. And Olga felt calmer. It's great. Dave also said it's more relaxed. Good. I mean, that's just one exercise. Don't expect this is going to be a game changer. It shouldn't be.
It can be with practice, and it's just the start.
It's a start.
If you feel calmer, if you can feel lighter, more flexible, it's not only going to improve your physical performance, but it's going to improve the way that you interact with relationships and, frankly, this world. When people are feeling stuck and contracted, closed down, compressed, it can take just a little spark that releases that tension, and all of a sudden there's an explosion in your body, a torn hamstring, a herniation of a disc, hemorrhoids, hernias, you name it. If there's constant stress on your system, your body's it has to release that tension someplace. It can be a communication, and all of a sudden somebody sparks something and you explode at that person. Better to be a little lighter and a little calmer, a little more reasonable.
Absolutely. It goes into the whole field of energy. Yes. I think you shared a diagram. We'll share all of these afterwards to the members, so don't worry, you have to memorizing everything. But this is really the belly out in, and you can see exactly what in the cartoon version what Pete was illustrating with for real. And then I'll invite. We have a few minutes. Thank you, Pete, for the real demo. If anyone has any questions for the stuff I talked about, the breathing exercise, anything for Pete specifically for the related topic on house band, enlarge our lung capacity, eventually performance, feel free to write your question in the chat box. We'll go through some of these at least and have a discussion.
And while you're maybe coming up with questions, here is your homework to do. And the homework is simple. Belly breathing isn't necessarily easy, but it is really straightforward. So your homework is going to be today and tomorrow, and until your belly breathing becomes unconsciously competent, do 5 belly breaths every hour, today, tomorrow. And so set an alarm on your phone or on a watch, or find a reason every time you get in your car and buckle up, take 5 belly breaths and then forget about it. But we just want to grease that groove. We want to get your diaphragm working. When you go to bed tonight, do 10 to 20 belly breaths. Just lay down, take that index finger an inch below your belly button. That's your target. And give me 10 to 20 belly breaths. And just downregulate your system and pay attention to how your sleep patterns improve.
Okay, so 5 every hour belly breathing, 10 to 20 when you go to bed, laying down, doing that.
Yes.
Right?
Well, yeah. And the belly breathing can be done standing, sitting, laying down. Practice while you're walking. Just tune into your breath. You're walking along, you're walking your dog, you're doing whatever, just in through your nose, out through your nose, or in through your nose, out through your mouth. If you're doing easier aerobic exercise, try to exclusively breathe in and out of your nose. Practice that nasal breathing pattern and actually reshape your sinuses, increase the, we can again be very locked down.
Yeah, thank you. So that's a great kind of leeway into one of the questions from our members. When exercising, our bodies naturally engage in belly breathing? It's not, right?
Right. It's a practice. It will hopefully right now we've awoken your consciousness to the benefits of belly breathing. So now you may need to be conscious of it while you're exercising. Eventually your body will become unconsciously good at belly breathing. But you can see even, the NBA playoffs are going right now, and you can see high level athletes that have developed incredible cheat patterns to keep functioning at a high level, and they're not functioning in a parasympathetic way. When you see them sitting on the bench, they're still in fight-flight mode. So it's not exclusive to people that maybe don't exercise a lot. It's just we can all learn to do it better.
Yeah. So one member asked, how would you incorporate practice in daily routine? Would you supplement with other exercise?
If belly breathing is in a category of exercise, then yeah, absolutely. There's lots of different forms of exercise, from cardiovascular exercise to probably the king of all exercises, if you want to have a great health span, is strength training, because, simply stated, more muscle on your body makes you harder to kill. So you should lift heavy things in an intelligent and beautiful way and work into that. So do other exercise, but incorporating belly breathing into your life really is as simple as 5 breaths every hour. Be aware of it. Just stop what you're doing. 5 breaths, 10 to 20 when you go to bed at night. That's how you incorporate it.
Okay. So why don't we try that and then see how that goes for you? How does breathing affect short and long-term memory? With all the talk about brain and breathing, I can, reinforce what I know, but what do you observe, Pete, from your practice?
Yeah, again, I like to keep things really simple. Belly breathing, your diaphragm being engaged is going to elongate your lungs, which means it's going to help you fill deep into the lower lobes of your lungs. Bigger lung capacity equals more oxygen in your system. Better oxygen in the blood that's flowing through your body and into your brain is going to improve simply every aspect of your life, including executive function, cognition, peace, and exercise training performance.
Yeah, just to supplement what you said, Pete, ask a question on that, because it's a really good question. I think the field is still quickly evolving about neuroscience around sleep, breathing, memory, and all that. With that said, I think to Pete's sharing, I believe the benefits from the belly breathing throughout our whole systems gonna benefit, almost like you're gonna nourish your infrastructure better, right?
Yes.
Your whole system baseline gonna be elevated, and all the memory and function, I think that will be just elevated as well. But as we know more about how, you just need to sleep better. I think there's an earlier question about, not from this session, from another session, they talk about if I don't, if I snore during the sleep, and how does it to do with memory and all that. Naturally, as you can formulate this link based on evidence, if you don't breathe well, right, the rhythm is disrupt all the time during the only time your long-term memory is formed. Of course, everything's gonna break apart. So it makes sense now to me. So great question, discussion. How do you quantify improvement in belly breathing? Can you speak to that, Pete?
Yeah, it's going to be a little subjective for me. I don't have access. I don't choose to have access to a spirometer. You could certainly, purchase one or go to a hospital and have them measure lung capacity. What I've seen practically over the thousands thousands of activations that I've done with people, how we test if somebody is in a more sympathetic drive or parasympathetic drive, rest and digest over here, and then, fight, flight, freeze. We take a look at passive, we have them lay on a table, we measure passive hamstring mobility. So it's me, their leg is locked, and it's me passively moving their leg, and we make them take a measurement. We then go in, activate their diaphragm, they belly breathe. I ask them, do you notice anything different? Some people do, some people don't. Some people will say, yeah, I feel like I'm sinking into this table a little bit more, like I'm more relaxed. Awesome. I go back and we test their passive hamstring mobility. It is rare that I don't see, depending upon the pre and post test, it's rare that I don't see close to 45 degrees or more improvement in hamstring mobility, simply because their body feels safer, because their diaphragm is working and it sends a signal to their mind. I'm in a safe place. I'm at peace. And their body then goes, oh, I can move. So that's how I quantify it.
Perfect. Well, I think that's on the hour, and thank you all for the discussion. And do your homework 5 times every hour and 10 to 20. Try to do 20 when you go to sleep every day. And we will come back in a few weeks. I hope everybody will report back. How does it do for you? And we'll be really interested to know. And Pete going to come back. We'll continue, lengthen, deepen this discussion. And we will talk about the mobility side of things, the pain management next time. So we will dig deeper. And on this screen, if you haven't talked to our fantastic registered dietitian, it's a free complimentary to all members. I highly suggest you do that. I made it easy for you. Just scan the code if you want. It goes to the Calendly scheduling. So if you have, I'm talking about our RD is fantastic and helpful. Utilize it. So yeah, thank you all. Thank you, Pete. And I always say the number one precious thing is time. And I ultimately enjoy this. And I really think the stuff we learn and talk about is going to add your health time towards your life, and not by hour, but hopefully by years. So thank you all. And I hope you enjoy the day and then the weeks following. And I would like to see you next time. So I'm your host, and Dr. Yishari Zhang. This is produced by Gino Pilot for our members. See you next time.